Well, we are so excited to be here. Any chance that we can come spend some time with our DCC family, brother, sister, whatever we are, church. So we are thrilled to be here. I don't know that Pastor David and Wendy even know how much of an impact they've had on Josh and I. We've only got to come here one other time, and we kind of just spent the weekend with them and just riding around and just kind of like seeing their life and how they do and what they do and how they lead. And we have talked about it. It was probably 3 years ago, but we talk about it all the time. And we were talking about it yesterday of like, how do they run a business and lead a congregation of people, and like shepherd a body, but then also like their kids love them and their grandkids love them. And they do like that. The fact that their kids want to do life with them as adults, like that speaks volumes. And there's just such good fruit from this church, from this body. And so we're like, hey, can we just come hang out? Like, we just want to be here doing what they're doing. So thank you so much for having us. We look up to y'all so much. Today, this morning, I want to talk about building a marriage that you love. Building a marriage that you love. We obviously don't have it all figured out. We've been married, this summer will be 16 years. So it's like half of what last night and half of what, this couple of here, like everybody, like we're half of that. So we don't have it all figured out. But one thing that we have done is that we have genuinely built a marriage that we love. Like it is our favorite part of our whole lives. Like we love it. We have so much fun together. He is the best man that I've ever known. And I just want to spend all my time with him. Like I literally don't get tired of being around him. And I met Josh whenever I was 17. We got married whenever I was 18. He was 20 at the time. And I remember when we were engaged, there was this older woman in our church. And she came to me and she said, she's like, you do know that like 50% of couples who get married under the age of 25 end up getting divorced, right? I was like, well, I do now. Thank you for letting me know that. Thank you for the well wishes. I appreciate it. And while that is statistically true, what she said was true. I'm just pretending that like out of the goodness of her heart, she was trying to help me out. But while it was statistically true, we were determined that we weren't going to be one of those statistics, that we weren't going to make it. And so after we had been married 2 months and we went to our first marriage conference in Branson with our church, and it changed everything for us. And what was really cool about going so early in marriage is that all the lessons, all the tools, everything that we learned was prevention for us and not damage control. And so we didn't want to wait till we were already at a point in our marriage where it's like, oh gosh, now we got to fix everything. We want to prevent it. And it's funny, just even in 2 months, we're like, wow, we almost screwed this thing up already. Like, golly, like everything he's saying, like we've already been doing. And so we had to cut it out. But no matter where you're at in marriage, if it is prevention, if it is damage control, I am glad that you're here because there's something all of us can learn and grow. I'm taking notes as fast as I can from the panel from last night. Just such good knowledge. But something that we get caught up in, just the ticky-tacky of marriage, and then we forget that the purpose of marriage is to make us holy as he is holy and to honor God. Like with our marriage, we want to honor God, and we want to become holy as he is holy. And marriage is the most sanctifying thing in our lives. It is the most incredible institution that God ever put in place. And the reason it's sanctifying is because it reveals like pride that we have. It uncovers selfishness, impatience, insecurity. And these are things that you may not notice about yourself when you're just alone. When you're just by yourself, you may not realize that all of these things are issues in your life, but then you get married and your spouse becomes a mirror for all the flaws. And then all these issues begin to surface. But know that like whatever is like surfacing in your marriage, of pride or selfishness or impatience, whatever is surfacing isn't caused by marriage, it's revealed by marriage. So marriage is revealing all these things, it's not causing it in your life. The exposure of this, though, creates an opportunity for repentance and for growth. And so it's like, okay, I'm struggling with these things, get married, it surfaces. All right, now we can address it. Now we can grow and work our way out of it. So marriage sanctifies you because it places you in a covenant relationship that consistently exposes your heart. It exposes your heart, it refines your character, and it draws you closer to Christ. So I'm a better person now because of Josh. I'm a better person now because I have been married for 16 years, because of all these things that have surfaced that the Lord has exposed that I'm able to cut out. Marriage is one of God's most practical tools to shape us into being Christ-like. One thing that Josh and I always say that a lot of people don't agree with when they hear it at first is that marriage isn't hard. That marriage isn't hard. And you're like, what on earth are you talking about? We do a lot of premarital counseling. I think we've had like 6 weddings in the last year that Josh has officiated. But we do premarital counseling. We tell these couples like marriage isn't hard. And they're like, wow, I've never heard anyone say that before. And you're probably like, why on earth are you telling people that? But what we tell them is that life is hard. So finances are really hard. Raising kids is really hard. In-laws can be really hard. Really difficult. Getting a bad diagnosis is really hard. There are a lot of really, really hard things in life, but my relationship with Josh is not the hard thing. So my relationship with Josh is actually, because I'm his helpmate and he helps me, that being married actually makes all those other areas not so hard. It actually takes the weight off because you have a partner to do it with, to go through all of those hard things with. And so marriage is not hard, life is hard. And so Josh and I, we don't want to try to convince people to stay married. We want to teach people how to create a marriage that they love. But this only works when we are dead to our flesh. So marriage is really, really hard when we're not dead to flesh. In Galatians 2:20 says, my old identity has been co-crucified with Christ and no longer lives. And now the essence of this new life is no longer mine, for the anointed one lives his life through me. We live in union as one. My new life is empowered by the faith of the Son of God, who loves me so much that he gave himself for me, dispensing his life into mine. So whenever we're dead to flesh and it's not about me and it's not about what I want in life, my perspective changes from like, how can you benefit me in this marriage, to how can I love you like Christ loves the church? Like, let me change my perspective on how I'm looking at this. In all the hard life situations that I mentioned, finances, bad diagnosis, in-laws, all of the things, it is not me against Josh and the kids. It is not Josh against the finances. In every hard situation, it is me and Josh against all of these other things. And so we describe it to couples like it's a doubles tennis match. So we're on this side of the net, and whatever we're facing is the other thing on the other side. So we're not facing each other, we're facing that thing together. Yep. I've had several people throughout our marriage, some of them my best friends, say, like, y'all got lucky with a good marriage. Like, y'all got lucky with a good marriage. Like, not everybody gets that luxury of having an awesome marriage. Like, one of my close friends said, oh, like, you're up in La La Land, up in the clouds, like, not realizing people are having real issues. But here's the thing, is you don't accidentally get a good marriage. You don't oops, we have a good marriage. How did that happen? So people on the outside will look and be like, wow, they love each other, they cherish each other, they talk respectfully to each other, like, wow, they have so much love and fun together. Awesome. But what they don't see is the discipline behind closed doors, the hard conversations that were had, the dying to flesh, when I wanted to quit and I didn't, when I was tempted to do this, but I didn't because we died to flesh. Like, no one else sees those hard moments that happen behind closed doors. They just see, oh, Sarah and Josh live in La La Land and nobody has any issues. But you don't accidentally build a good marriage. It is intentional. And so when people used to say that to me, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess we are lucky. But it is never luck. It is hard work, and it is keeping Jesus at the center of it all. Something that is really cool about marriage is that you get to have whatever type of marriage you want. Yes. So you get to choose if you're gentle. You get to choose if you want to be a good listener. You get to choose if you want to be respectful. You get to choose if you want to be faithful. You get to choose however much or little peace you want to have in your home. Now, you can't choose whatever everyone else does, but you can choose in your home, this is how we're going to do it. So the home that Josh grew up in, they screamed, they slammed doors. I did not. We did not do that in our house growing up. And so we got married, so we had to have a conversation like, what kind of home do we want to have? And so, in the very first month of marriage, he yelled, and I was like, whoa, we're not, no, like, that's not cool with me, you know? It's like, I'm not slamming a door. Like, we're not going to even, like, introduce that out the gate. And so we had to have a conversation, like, how do we want to resolve conflict? Like, how are we going to work it out? Because here's what we're not going to do. And so, we need to establish our values. So if you are early on in marriage or, like, still getting started, establish your values. Like, what are we going to do? What are we absolutely not going to do that's a non-negotiable? Make a plan on how we're going to uphold those values. And then keep each other accountable in that. Husbands and wives are to sharpen each other. And so even though we've been married 15 years, like if one of us starts to drift a little bit when it comes to something that doesn't align with our values, like we have to have that hard conversation and be like, hey, remember 15 years ago we established that we weren't going to do this. And I feel like we're kind of drifting in that area. And so if you have been married, you may need to realign your values and just kind of like remind each other, like, wait, what did we set out to do? Because you are building something. So don't ignore the drift, address it. And, you know, what we have seen a lot in marriage with us and with other people is that it's not necessarily the big things that get us off track. So marriage killers aren't always the big, like, moral failures. When you hear that someone's getting a divorce because someone cheated, like, you see the big moral failures, but it's a lot of times it's the small things that lead up to that. In Proverbs 31, where King Lemuel's mom is describing to him what a wife of noble character looks like. In verse 11, it says that her husband can trust her and that she greatly enriches his life. And so when I read this, like, I don't think that her husband can trust her. I don't take that to mean like she's not having an affair. You know, I take that to mean, you know, when I tell Josh I'm going to be home at 8, I'm not rolling up at 10. You know, with finances, like if we've set a budget together, I'm not going to go on a shopping spree and then hide the receipts. You know, when he gets home from work, like he can trust that I'm going to be the same person every day when he walks in the door. So if I've had a really bad day, I've been really frustrated, I had a client that really made me mad, like the kids are insane, whatever happened, like he's not wondering who's on the other side of the door whenever he gets home. And to me, that's trust, that he can trust me. Like I can trust that Sarah's not going to be an emotional roller coaster. Not saying you can't have a bad day. And I'm not like Susie Homemaker with cookies at the front door when he comes home. Like, I'm so glad you're here. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? Don't push it. Don't push it. So I'm not saying you have to be perfect. You can't have a bad day. But I'm not going to treat him differently based on my emotions and my mood because I'm building trust. I want to build something with him that he can trust. So build an expectation and value of trust even in the little things. Song of Solomon 2:15 says, catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vineyards, for our vineyards are in blossom. So it is not the big betrayals, it is these small unchecked boxes that they quietly erode at our intimacy and our trust with each other. So 1, 2, 3s. We're big on application. What do I do? What does that look like? Application. So I'm going to talk about 3 marriage killers, some of these little foxes that sneak in to destroy the vine, which Ms. Missy talked on some of this too. But number 1 is unaddressed resentment. So small offenses that are not talked through, they turn into emotional distance. Just to throw myself under the bus. When we first got married and I was frustrated or I was mad at Josh, I would give him the cold shoulder for like 3 days. Like I just wouldn't talk to him, like silent treatment. And he'd be like, hey, what's wrong? Nothing. Nothing. Well, are you sure? Like, what's wrong? Nothing. I'm fine. It's like, okay, well, obviously something's wrong, you know. But this created emotional distance in us because I wouldn't resolve the issue. I wouldn't tell him what I was resenting him for. And unresolved resentment leads to long-term bitterness. Time can heal a lot of things, but resentment in your spouse is not one of them. You don't wait for it to like blow over. Like it'll blow over. If we just let enough time pass, it'll go away. Like it has to be addressed. It has to be talked about. We've got to resolve it. Some of our really close friends, this was a couple of years ago, they were like, we're getting a divorce. We're done. They'd been married 13, 14 years. And she's trying to get a response from him, like, why? Like, why are you doing this? Like, what is happening? She's prying and prying and prying, pushing like, and she finally said, just tell me how you really feel. And he's like, okay. For the last 13 years, you quit putting yourself together. You're in your pajamas all day long. I'm at work all day. I come home. The house is a disaster. You're homeschooling our kids, but they're not learning anything. And so he's like, I feel like you've given up. And she's like, she had no idea. And she's like, why didn't you tell me that 13 years ago? When it started bothering you, like, why did you just keep this to yourself? Like, I would have changed. I would have done different had I known. You hadn't told me. And so while they're on the brink of divorce, whereas 13 years earlier they had a conversation, a hard one, that's not an easy conversation to have with your spouse. And I think a lot of times we avoid the conversations because we don't want to wound our spouse. We love them. We don't want to hurt them. But it was this unresolved resentment that went on and on and on. And it's just little things. The dishes were overflowing. Well, that's not cause for divorce. But over 13 years of time and resentment building up led to this huge thing that could have been squashed a long time ago. Ephesians 4:26 says, but don't let the passion of your emotions lead you to sin. Don't let anger control you or be fuel for revenge, not even for a day. Don't give the slanderous accuser, the devil, an opportunity to manipulate you. So this doesn't say that we can't be frustrated, that we can't ever get angry, but we cannot let the passion of our emotion lead us to sin, and we cannot let it linger. Another version of this verse says, like, don't let the sun go down on your anger. We talk about this a lot in premarital counseling because in the beginning we heard that verse. We're like, oh, so even though it's 1 a.m., we got to hash this thing out. Well, we're exhausted. Like, we're so tired. Like, I haven't eaten, in the last 4 hours, so now I'm hangry and exhausted. I've been up with a baby. Tensions are high. Like, what I needed was sleep. And so, if we continue this conversation, I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. Well, maybe we just shouldn't have gotten married at all, It's just going to escalate. So, maybe you need to go to sleep. Yes. And in the morning, I'm like, oh, why was I so frustrated last night? It actually, was not that big of a deal, Or, we're in the right headspace to, talk it through. And so, don't let the sun go down in your anger. What this is talking about is, don't let it linger. I can't give them the silent treatment for a week. We can't go multiple days angry with each other. But you may need to go to sleep, okay, if it's really late. You're not thinking right. So go to sleep, eat some bread. I don't know if you have ever had intense fellowship with your spouse right before having company over. But we will have young adults are going to be at our house in 30 minutes and we're frustrated with each other. Kids go, put your stuff in your room. Everyone's mad, tensions are high. We're frustrated. It's okay, well, now we got 20 minutes. So we need to hurry and kiss and make up. We got to figure this thing out because we've got ministry to do. We've got kingdom work to do. We have kids that we have to parent together. Okay, we've got ministry. We don't have time to be angry. We don't have time to be resentful with each other because the Lord's trying to use us right now. And so we're not going to let this little fox come in and spoil the vine of what we're trying to do in ministry. Learn to minimize what doesn't matter and maximize what does matter. So a good question to ask, and we ask ourselves this all the time. In the span of eternity, does this thing matter? Okay, his dirty clothes on the floor in the bathroom. In the span of eternity, does this actually matter? Normally, the answer is no. It does not. All right, marriage killer number 2, poor communication. So it's another one of those sly foxes that work their way into the vineyard. And this may look like sarcasm, which Josh and I are very sarcastic, so it's really hard to not be sarcastic when we're having intense fellowship with each other. Dismissiveness, just kind of brushing it off. Silence for too long. This is a big one, being passive-aggressive. It's another form of poor communication because you're trying to communicate, but not directly. We're going to do it passively. It's funny, Josh and I, we don't, argue in front of the kids, really. We really don't argue very much at all. Our arguing is the sarcasm and the passive aggression. And so I remember we were being passive aggressive about something that had happened, and we were in the kitchen and we're cooking dinner, and our oldest son, Micah, was like, Mom, Dad? He's like, are y'all fighting? And it was really funny because we were kinda, but we weren't yelling. But it was funny because that's what he's like, I think my parents are having a fight right now. And it was funny at the time, but it made me aware that even our kids pick up on the negative, like the negativity, the negative vibe in the room when we're passive aggressive with each other. He notices, okay, they're not being flirty like they normally are and having fun. They're being kind of, a little on edge there. So passive aggression, it doesn't help the situation. So we just could try to cut that out if at all possible. Women are more notoriously known for dropping hints instead of clearly communicating what we're thinking and how we're feeling. And men are a lot of times more notoriously known for not picking up the hints that were dropped. I had no idea. So, me saying things like, this lawn is getting out of control. Okay, well, that just riles him up. That just produces frustration in him rather than hey, babe, if you have time this week, could you mow the grass? Okay, be direct, don't drop a hint. I really wish this trash wasn't overflowing while I'm trying to cook dinner. It'd be really cool if it was taken out. So it would be cool. And he agrees, that would be really cool if that were taken out. Or hey, babe, could you bag the trash when you get a second? Sure, happy to do that. So use logical conversation. Oh, I don't know, yeah. So just some good communication tips. Number one, the words that you say. So be clear about your expectations. Not just for the women, men too. If you're a guy that drops hints, be clear about your expectations. If there is a task that I would like Josh to do, for example, hanging up the Christmas lights. Growing up, I was Cindy Lou Who and he was the Grinch. And so I'm like, hey, babe, can you hang up the Christmas lights? He says, yes, I will. That sounds great, right? Okay, but what's going through my mind is that he's going to put his shoes on right now and he's headed out on the roof. He's gotten the ladder. He's headed out there. What's going through his mind is I got 3 weeks, December 23rd. That sounds like a good time to do that. It'll get done, And so now I'm bitter at him every day for 3 weeks because I keep thinking any moment he's going out there to do it. And he's like, I'm a great husband because I'm going to put the lights up like I told her that I was going to. But good communication would be saying the words that I say, hey, babe, I would really love the Christmas lights up by the first week of December. If you can pull that off, do you think you can do that? Sure, I'm happy to do that. I'll rework my schedule. If he can't get it done by that time, hey, babe, I have meetings. We've got basketball games. I've got whatever. But I could get it up by the 8th. Is that okay? Perfect. Sounds great. So now I've communicated my expectation to him instead of, can you? Well, sure. Well, I wanted it done yesterday. And he's like, I'll do it. December 24th is a month away, so we're good. All right, so number one, the words you say. Number two, the tone that you say it in. The tone that you say it in. Is your tone gentle? Is your tone hostile? The right words and the wrong tone will not be received well. I do everything around here. Or, hey, I'm overwhelmed and I need some help. Okay, so just take a couple extra seconds to rephrase in your brain how it's going to come out in the tone that you're going to say it in so that it will be received well. Tone determines whether truth lands as love or as attack. Wow. So I'm saying truth. What I'm saying isn't wrong, but how I say it is going to determine if it lands as love or as an attack. So am I trying to win or am I trying to understand? Am I trying to correct or am I trying to connect with him on this thing? Number three, the body language that you use. So, and this is tough for both of us because we're on our phones a lot. I have to be on my phone for work. He's got people texting him about work stuff. But scrolling on your phone, while your spouse is talking to you, that is communication. That is communicating to them that you're not really super interested in what they're saying to you. And so if I'm coming in and I want to tell him something and I see he's already scrolling, hey, babe, when you're done, I wanted to tell you something. Or when you have a minute, or I'll just wait till he's done and then I'll mention it. If he's in the middle of something, I don't want to interrupt that either. So, but make eye contact, nodding, affirming. These are just a few of the ways to use body language to communicate that they matter to you. Next, the timing of when you say it. So saying a good thing at a bad time can make for a bad situation. Throw myself under the bus again. So while Josh was, he was driving the whole CMA staff. CMA is our Christian school. He was driving the whole staff to Chick-fil-A for Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day. So all the staff's going together. At the time, I worked at a doctor's office, and I had been feeling kind of weird. And so, it being a doctor's office, we had all these pregnancy tests. And I was like, I'm going to take one. So I did, and it was positive. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Josh is driving a van full of people right now to Chick-fil-A. What a great time. I'm going to call him. And so I called him, and I was like, hey, babe, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm driving the staff to Chick-fil-A right now. What's up? And I was like, I'm pregnant. And it's like this long pause. And he goes, I'll call you back. And so I was like, oh my gosh. Number 1, that was our first kid. So I couldn't wait. Like, had it been kid number 4 or 5, sure, I could tell him tomorrow. We were busy. But it was the first kid. We never had kids. So I was like, I have to tell him at this very second. That was really bad timing on my part. He was in shock. You know, he's completely thrown off. He's trying to connect with all these teachers, driving a loud van full of people that he couldn't share the news with yet. And so, you know, I'm over here hoping for this, like, amazing reaction. What a sweet moment. We're bonding over the phone. And he's like, I'll call you back. And so not getting the reaction that I wanted, that was my bad. You know, I could have waited until he got home from work, but I did not. So good words at a bad time is not good. I don't know if anyone else in here likes to debrief at the end of the day. I can get pretty quickly in the ditch of, like, going through the checklist when we're laying in bed at night. And so I'm like, today I did this, and I did this, and this, and I took him here, and I did that. And then tomorrow, and so, you know, go through tomorrow's whole itinerary. And, you know, I'm making a list, I'm checking it twice, and I feel good about it. I'm productive. I'm like, let's go. But Josh is like, his eyes twitching, and like, he's like, every like little bit of like peace that he had at the end of the day, like all of it's gone. He's completely stressed out because of my itinerary. So going, like, it's good to like, okay, here's what we did today. What do we need to do tomorrow? Like, I'm all about like making a plan, but like 11 p.m. at night, it's probably not the time for that. So set a time a little better. Just like identify the situation and see if it's a good time, because I don't want to have bad timing. And I don't want him to dread coming to bed at night because I'm about to overwhelm him with my list. So feel that out. So words, tone, body language, and timing. These are all crucial for having good communication with your spouse. Number 3 marriage killer is neglecting emotional intimacy. So our emotional needs, man and woman, we want to be loved. We want to be appreciated. We want to be wanted by our spouse. We want to be desired, not just wanted, but like desired. And we want to be needed. And so busy schedules are a big cause for emotional neglect. And Taylor mentioned this too. Our marriages, we need like intentional connection, not just the passing by with our crazy schedules. So don't assume that you're meeting your spouse's needs. Ask what their needs are. Because you may think, yeah, I'm meeting their needs, for sure. Okay, well, ask them that question. Would they agree with you? Do they feel like their needs are being met? So we need to learn to love our spouse, not in the way that we want to be loved, but how they want to be loved. So, I mean, that's great that you receive love through gift giving, but your spouse doesn't want another present. Like, they want to spend time with you. And so how do they want to be loved? Unmet needs equal an unhappy marriage. Something that Josh and I do, just a tip, apply it or don't. We heard another pastor talk about it, and we're like, I love that, we want to do it. Is once a year, when we're maybe like on a couples trip or just a date night and we're not mad, nothing's going wrong, all is good, we're happy with each other, we do like a big check-in. And he initiates it every time. And he's like, all right, you know, what is something that I need to work on in our marriage? Like, what is something that I can improve in, something that you wish, man, I wish you did this, or like, you know, I wish that. And it's not like, I wish you would take the trash out more. It's not like the to-do stuff. It's more like emotional needs, or like, you know, I wish we were intimate more often. You know, that may be a need. Like, we're not intimate enough. And so how can we do that? And so, but he initiates it. And in this conversation, like, all defenses are down. And what's really hard about it is that, like, all right, well, here's something like I wish we could improve in. And he cannot then be like, well, the only reason I do that is because, you know, we're not making excuses. It's like, okay, this is how they feel. And so, all right, I'm going to do better in that. And then turn around and I say, all right, bring it to me. What do I need to work on? and I receive it back, and I don't make excuses, and we make the change, and it's something we work towards. So again, this prevents like the long-term resentment that I mentioned, but also it builds emotional intimacy with your spouse, because nothing is going to go unchecked, and our needs are changing all the time. And that's the thing, and that's why we do it every year, is because our needs are changing every year. If Josh asked me 14 years ago what my needs were, what do you need to change, I would say right now what I need is just to snuggle and talk about our life streams, 16 years later, if he were to ask me, babe, what do you need? I would be like, I need you to change this baby's diaper so that I can go sit in a dark, quiet room by myself for like a couple hours. Like, this is what I need. Like, my needs have changed from what they were. We do have 5 kids. People say often, do you know what causes that? It's always the random strangers at the store. They're like, you know what causes that? And so to make them feel uncomfortable, I'm like, I do. That's why we've got so many, And then that's where the conversation ends. Nobody knows how to respond to that. So we sure do know what causes it. But our kids, they're 12, 10, 8, 5, and 1. I'm also a real estate broker, and I train agents, and I run our women's ministry, and I teach at our college. Josh is a pastor. He is a coach. He is a teacher. There's people in this room that are way busier than us. And so we understand how busy life gets. We understand how crazy life is, but we also understand that all of these things, the kids, the business, the ministry, all of that is built on our marriage, which is built on Christ. So your relationship with Jesus crumbles, your marriage crumbles, and then all of these other things that you have worked so hard to build crumble with it. And so what we have done is try to find creative ways to carve out pockets of time to be intentional throughout the week with our schedules, because we don't want to go on autopilot for 2 months. We have not had a real conversation in 2 months. We're just kind of coasting through, getting the kids bathed, getting them in bed, moving on to the next thing. I was like, dear God, we haven't had like a real conversation. Like, we need to go on a date. And so we do strategically schedule our week where we can go to lunch together while the kids are in school one day. In the evening, instead of me watching my show in the living room and he's in our room gaming or doing whatever, like, we watch a show together. We'll eat some cookie dough and watch a movie after the kids go to bed. We have a code word for ice cream, and it's Lieutenant Dan, so that our kids don't pick up on it. We're like, hey, you got that Lieutenant Dan? Like, I do, for 10 p.m. And our kids have no idea what we're talking about. So, code word. Ecclesiastes 9:9 says, live happily with the woman you love through all the meaningless days of life that God has given you under the sun. So notice it doesn't say like exist or survive with that woman in your house. It says live happily with the woman you love through these mundane days. So what steps are we taking to live happily through the days that the Lord has given us? One way to build emotional intimacy with each other is to have something that you love to do together. So limit your individual hobbies. I'm not saying don't have them, have your hobbies, but limit them. We have a lot of friends that the husband's gone hunting every single weekend, every single night of the week he's gone hunting. Some people are like, ooh, whoops. But women, like, I know a lot of women that will have girls' nights every weekend or go take a girls' trip all the time, and they're always doing their own thing. So there's all the hobbies. But to limit that time, to travel together, cook together, watch a movie together, play a game together. We've started buying board games recently, run errands together. It's like the little in-between moments too, but all like build friendship with your spouse. She said, have fun. Like, they have so much fun together. Like, have fun with your spouse, because this is where the memories are made. Really quickly, I gave you 3 marriage killers. I want to balance it out, give you 3 marriage builders, since we're talking about building marriage. Number 1, be a student of your marriage, which Miss Lynette mentioned last night. She talked about being a student, and I was like, yes. One key thing that we do is we try to be a student of our marriage. So meaning that we never graduate, we never arrive, like we have conquered the thing. Whenever I was in school, I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm researching, I'm being quizzed, I'm being tested in different areas. My memory is constantly being refreshed and learning. When I graduated, I chunked the deuce, and I was like, I'm never taking a test again. This was awful. Hated that. But what happens when you stop being a student? We have a 7th grader right now, and he needs help with pre-algebra. I don't know what he's talking about. And so I'm on YouTube trying to relearn math because I stopped being a student in that area. And it's the same thing. In a relationship, when you're dating, you're really good students. You know, you're showing up on time. You're really put together. You take really good notes. You ask really good questions. It's all new and it's fresh. But then you get to the point where it's like, you've been in it a few years, you've been married, you know, you've lived a little bit of life together. And so you feel like you've kind of mastered the thing. And so you stop showing up early. You stop putting yourself together. You stop taking notes. You stop asking really good questions. And, you know, we don't know the cause of it, but we try to predict a lot of times, like midlife crisis divorces, because there's so many. It's like, what happened? How do we prevent that? And a lot of it looks like they stopped being a student in their marriage. Like they stopped asking questions and like learning and diving into that person. I know you think, like, well, I've been with them 40 years. I know everything there is to know. Like everyone's always changing. Like I'm not the same person now that I was at 18 when we got married. I'm not the same person that I was last year. And so we are ever changing. We need to keep asking the questions with your spouse. Number 2, embrace your differences. For Marriage Builder, embrace your differences. I'm sure you're aware by now, men and women are very different. But compatibility is not based on sameness. So we're not compatible because we're the same. Opposites attract as well. He's not going to think like a woman. She's not going to think like a man. And that is great. You don't need to. That's why we need each other. We need to rely on each other. The thing that you love about your spouse, you will also hate at times. Josh will poke fun at me about how much I go overboard for like the kids' birthdays and like Christmas and like the festivities. He'll poke fun at it like, babe, this is too much. It's too much. It's over the top. But he also really loves how special I make our kids feel with these things and the memories that I'm building for them and creating for them. You know, he can complain about how long it takes me to get ready in the morning, but he also really loves that I like put myself together and that I try to look nice, and so he appreciates that about me. You know, I can get mad at Josh for like roughhousing with the kids, being tough on them, but it was his masculinity and his toughness that like drew me to him. Like I was attracted to that. You know, he wasn't a pansy man, and I loved that about him, so I can't now be mad at him for that, you know, be mad at him for being a man. So celebrate differences. You know, what giftings do they have? What is their calling? Help them fulfill that. Differences will pull you together when you're mature. When you're immature, differences will pull you apart. So I don't want to reject the thing that's different from me. Like I need that. Like that's what helps me to grow and challenges me, sharpens me. So make your differences positive, not negative. All right, and then last Marriage Builder is create a culture of honor. So defend your spouse publicly. Address issues privately. I don't know if you've been around couples who fight in public. It's very cringe. It's very awkward. It's very uncomfortable. And typically, like, whatever issue they're fighting about doesn't get resolved in a public setting. It escalates. It doesn't end in respect. It doesn't end in honor. It's typically just not a good situation. And so try to address issues privately. And not in front of people to disrespect them. It's really important to speak respectfully to your spouse, even in disagreements. Even when you're frustrated and upset, I'm still going to be respectful in how I talk to you and address it. So never shame, never belittle, never embarrass, never mock your spouse, especially in front of other people. They're just like all respect just goes out the window. And that's one of the trust things. It's like you don't know that you can trust them. Because last time they threw you under the bus. So don't make your spouse the punchline. We don't want to sacrifice honor for a laugh. So refuse to win at the cost of wounding. A great way to honor your spouse is to talk good about them behind their back. I mentioned a few years ago being here, hanging out with Pastor David and Wendy. I was riding around with Miss Wendy, just going all over the place, and she talked about him behind his back. In such a way, she's like, he's the best man I've ever known. Like, that man is something that, like, he is so gifted. The way that he loves people, oh my, she just went on and on and on about, like, what an amazing man he was. And that had such an impact on me because the norm is for women to vent about their husbands and all their shortcomings and all that they've done wrong. But she's like, I want to honor this man, and I want to, like, brag on him. Like, the level of respect that was in that marriage was like, that had an impact. I mean, I talk wonderful about Josh behind his back, but it's so rare to hear women say, like, man, what a man of God. Like, I'm so glad I married him. Like, he is so gifted. He is so this, and this. And so what you say about your spouse when they're not around, it reveals your level of honor that you have for them. Make a habit to brag on your spouse when they're around and when they're not around. Like the way that it builds him up whenever I brag on him in front of people. It's like, oh, wow, she thinks that about me. Like, that's awesome. Romans 12:10 says, love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Now, this is for the whole body of Christ, but right now in the context of marriage, like I want to take delight in honoring him. And so when he wins, like I win. So like, I'm not in competition with him. Like I want him to be a success because then I'm a success because we're one. So when honor is present in your marriage, defenses will come down. Vulnerability will increase. Emotional and physical intimacy grows and trust is built. So honor, unity, and trust is the goal. So be a student in your marriage, embrace your differences, create a culture of honor. If you will make these a priority, you can build the marriage that you love. So that's it.